In 1999, NBC aired a show that pulled in just under 7 million viewers an episode. That made it their least watched series of the entire season. It got canceled after 12 episodes aired. 3 more were burned off in a summer marathon that nobody watched. And 3 episodes? They never made it to NBC at all. Now here's the twist. 25 years later, that same show holds a perfect score on Rotten Tomatoes. It regularly shows up on greatest TV shows of all time lists. And it launched the careers of Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jason Segel, and Linda Cardellini. Today, we're counting down 15 weird, wild, and surprisingly heartbreaking facts about Freaks and Geeks. The show that failed so hard, it accidentally built an empire. If you grew up watching awkward teens stumble through high school in the 80s, or you just love behind-the-scenes Hollywood chaos, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe. Let's get into it. Number 15. The cast competed on Family Feud.
Haverchuck. Down there is Linda Cardellini, who plays Lindsay Weir.
Let's kick things off with something genuinely bizarre. In February 2000, the show was still on the air. Barely. It was fighting for its life in the ratings. And somehow, the solution NBC came up with was to put the cast on Family Feud. Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jason Segel, the whole crew, standing at those podiums, buzzing in to guess what 100 people surveyed might say. Hosted by Louis Anderson, the show was averaging around 6 million viewers and kept getting bumped for baseball. But sure, let's do a game show crossover with the WB's Popular. That'll fix it. Spoiler, it did not save the series, but it remains one of the strangest promotional decisions in television history. Number 14. They took the cast to a Ted Nugent concert for research. Here's the thing about casting young actors in a show set in 1980. Most of them had no idea who Led Zeppelin was. Paul Feig, the show's creator, recognized this problem immediately. His solution? Take the entire cast to see Ted Nugent at the House of Blues. Full immersion in the era's music culture. Judd Apatow later admitted he was kind of shocked by how little many of them knew about classic rock. Martin Starr, who played Bill Haverchuck, said his first album purchase had actually been Tupac's All Eyes on Me. But here's what's cool. By the time production wrapped, Starr was calling Led Zeppelin his favorite band. He said he only discovered them because of Freaks and Geeks. The music education program worked. Number 13. The oldest actor played one of the youngest characters.
No, not at all. He was really happy that I stole his car and smashed it.
When Linda Cardellini was cast as Lindsay Weir, she was 24 years old, playing a 16-year-old high school junior. That's an 8-year age gap, the largest on the entire cast. For comparison, John Francis Daley was the only actor actually the same age as his character, 14 playing 14. James Franco was 21 playing 17. Busy Phillips was 20 playing 17. And Seth Rogen, he was actually 17. One of the few cast members close to his character's age. Cardellini pulled it off so convincingly that nobody questioned it. She dropped out of her university program to take the role, a gamble that obviously paid off. Number 12. NBC was afraid of the internet.
Plenty. Have you done grilling me, Mr. Rosso? Why don't you give me $1 so I can get some snowballs?
This one sounds like a joke. It is not a joke. Judd Apatow confirmed that NBC wouldn't let the show advertise its website URL. Their reasoning? They were worried about losing viewers to the internet. This was 1999. The network looked at the World Wide Web and thought, if people know this exists, they might stop watching television. Meanwhile, the show was dying in the ratings. Its target audience of teenagers couldn't find it because it was buried in the Saturday night death slot. Here's the irony. Freaks and Geeks would later become one of the first TV series to build a massive cult, following specifically through internet word of mouth, after it was already canceled. Number 11. Jason Segel was completely wrong for the role he got.
There's a big eagle flying behind a flame shine.
The character of Nick Andopoulos was originally written as a gearhead car guy. The casting notes described him as a fire plug. For those unfamiliar, that means short and stocky. Then, Jason Segel walked into the audition. This tall, handsome guy with a really unique delivery. The producers had a decision to make. Apatow told Feig that letting Segel walk away would be a crime. So they completely rewrote Nick to fit the actor. Instead of a short car enthusiast, Nick became a tall, sensitive drummer. That willingness to rewrite characters for interesting actors became the whole approach to casting. Number 10. Shia LaBeouf auditioned for a lead and ended up as the mascot before Transformers. Before Indiana Jones, Shia LaBeouf auditioned for one of the lead geek roles. Reportedly, Neil Schreiber, the self-proclaimed ladies' man that Sam Levine ended up playing. He didn't get it. Instead, he was cast as Herbert, the school mascot, a tiny role in a single episode. But that's not all. Jesse Eisenberg nearly played Sam Weir, the main character. Lauren Ambrose, who would later star in 6 Feet Under, auditioned for Lindsay. Lizzie Kaplan tried out for both Lindsay and Kim Kelly before landing a recurring role that became her first professional acting job. Oh, and NBC actually suggested Britney Spears appear as a waitress. The producers said no, and they wanted to maintain the show's realism. Number 9. The writer's room started with group therapy. Before a single episode was written, Paul Feig locked his writers in a room for 2 weeks. They had one assignment: share your most embarrassing, painful, and memorable high school experiences. Every humiliation, every heartbreak, every moment that still made you cringe 15 years later. Put it on the table. Those real stories became the foundation for almost every storyline in the series. The show wasn't based on focus groups. It wasn't based on what network executives thought teenagers wanted to see. It was based on actual trauma that actual writers had actually lived through. That's why watching Freaks and Geeks can feel uncomfortably real, because it is. Number 8. Martin Starr got too buff and had to stop working out.
All right, here's the bet. For $10, I'll drink this much of anything.
Here's a problem you don't hear about often. During production, Martin Starr started working out with James Franco between scenes. He was a teenager with access to a gym. Why not get in shape? The problem? Bill Haverchuck is supposed to be the physical embodiment of geeky adolescent weakness. And Feig noticed that Starr was developing what he called giant guns. They had to ask him to stop lifting. Even worse, when they shot the scene where Bill fantasizes about dating the bionic woman, they had to find ways to hide his newly bulging muscles. Sometimes method acting goes in the wrong direction. Number 7. The DVD cost over $1 million just for music rights. The show's commitment to period-accurate music was both its greatest strength and its biggest financial headache. 18 episodes, more than 120 songs. Van Halen, The Who, Styx, Kiss, The Grateful Dead. When it came time to release the DVD in 2004, 4 years after Cancellation, someone had to pay for all those licenses again. Shout Factory spent over $1 million just to clear the rights. Feig was firm about it. He'd rather not have the show released at all than have it released with replacement music. And when Fox Family Channel aired reruns, they did exactly what Feig feared. They swapped in generic production music to avoid paying licensing fees. Number 6. NBC pulled an episode for being too dark.
So, how's it going? What? I said, how's it going?
Episode 4 was supposed to show how Kim Kelly and Lindsay Weir actually became friends. It depicted domestic violence in Kim's home, a threatening stepfather, family chaos. NBC looked at that and decided it was too dark for a teen audience. They pulled it from the schedule entirely. The consequences were brutal. Viewers watching on Saturday nights saw Kim and Lindsay's friendship develop out of nowhere, because the episode explaining it never aired. Busy Phillips later said the decision shows how far television has come in terms of acceptable content. The episode eventually aired on Fox Family Channel months later, but by then, the damage to the show's narrative was done. Number 5. They shot the finale early because they knew cancellation was coming.
What do you want me to say, Daniel?
I don't know, Kim. You know, I am always listening to your stupid problems.
Judd Apatow is a self-described neurotic. He watched the ratings tank. He saw the network shuffle the time slot around. He noticed NBC wasn't exactly fighting for the show's survival. So he made a decision that turned out to be prophetic. They shot Discos and Dragons, the series finale, episodes before the season was actually over, just in case the guillotine came down. It did. The finale has Lindsay deciding to follow the Grateful Dead instead of attending an academic summit. Exactly the kind of ending NBC would never have approved if the show had a real future. When the NBC executive who originally greenlit the show saw that ending, he reportedly realized the creators would never do what it took to make the show commercial. They'd rather go out on their own terms. Number 4. Seth Rogen was secretly writing Superbad on set.
That we couldn't do the one thing that we promised because we're dickless incompetence? Now we're never gonna bone because of that used tampon Fogel.
This might be the most mind-bending fact about the entire production. Seth Rogen was 16 when he got cast. He dropped out of high school in Vancouver, moved to LA with his family, and became their primary wage earner after both his parents lost their jobs. He told the producers he was completing correspondence school from Canada. That was a lie. He'd actually dropped out entirely. And while he was supposed to be finishing his education, he was on set writing the first drafts of Superbad with his childhood friend, Evan Goldberg. The movie that would make him a star nearly a decade later was being written in between takes of a show getting canceled in real time. Number 3. The craft service table predicted cancellation. Jason Segel knew the show was doomed before anyone officially told him. How? He watched the craft service table. At the start of production, it was loaded. Cold cuts, good snacks, everything you'd expect on a well-funded TV set. As the season went on and ratings stayed low, Segel noticed the table shrinking. By the end, he said it had been reduced to half a thing of creamer and some corn pops. The crew didn't need a memo from the network. They could see the budget disappearing in real time. One missing deli tray at a time. Number 2. Apatow's entire career has been a revenge mission. In 2014, Apatow admitted something that reframes his entire filmography. He said that even years later, he didn't want to accept that Freaks and Geeks got canceled. Everything he's done since, in his own words, has been revenge against the people who killed the show. He called it demented, but he also meant it completely. Every time he casts Seth Rogen or Jason Segel, he's telling the network executives who canceled the show that they were wrong about that person, and that person, and that person. Jason Segel called it a Count of Monte Cristo-style revenge mission. Apatow systematically making every one of those young actors into a star. Knocked Up, Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Pineapple Express. These aren't just successful comedies. They're evidence in a decades-long argument that NBC made one of the biggest mistakes in television history. Number 1. The executive who canceled it compared it to clubbing a baby seal. This is where the story gets genuinely tragic. Garth Ancier was the NBC executive who pulled the plug. Years later, he broke his silence. He said he absolutely hated canceling the show. He knew from day one it had great writing and a tremendous cast. He called it an awful decision that has haunted him forever. But here's the brutal reality. The show was consistently NBC's least watched series. Canceling it wasn't malice, it was math. Ancier described the emotional difficulty in brutal terms. He said the hard cancellation isn't when nobody likes the show. The hard cancellation is when everyone thinks it's special, but nobody's watching. He compared the feeling to, and this is his exact phrase, clubbing a baby seal. There's a cruel irony here. Ancier's one creative note to Apatow was that the freaks or geeks should win occasional victories over the cooler kids. Apatow ignored that note, but Ancier pointed out that Apatow has taken that exact note in every hit movie since. The underdog victories that Power knocked up and the 40-year-old virgin? That's what NBC wanted from Freaks and Geeks all along. The legacy. So what happened to everyone? Seth Rogen became one of Hollywood's biggest comedy stars. James Franco earned an Oscar nomination before his career took a different turn. Jason Segel spent 9 years on How I Met Your Mother and wrote The Muppets. Linda Cardellini went from ER to Mad Men to the Marvel Universe. Martin Starr almost quit acting entirely. Then he landed Silicon Valley and started appearing in the Spider-Man films. Films co-written by John Francis Daley, the 14-year-old kid who played Sam Weir. Busy Phillips built a career on Dawson's Creek and Cougar Town. Even the casting director Allison Jones used her Emmy win as a launching pad. She went on to cast The Office, Parks and Recreation, Veep, Arrested Development, and Barbie. The show that NBC buried on Saturday nights, preempted for baseball, moved to compete against Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, canceled while averaging under 7 million viewers. It has a perfect Rotten Tomatoes score. It's streaming on Hulu with the original soundtrack. 25 years later, the cast was still posting anniversary tributes and calling each other family. Paul Feig wrote the pilot in 2 weeks while his career was falling apart. Judd Apatow read it and said yes within 12 hours. They built something 4 networks rejected, something NBC barely tolerated, something audiences in 1999 largely ignored, and then they won anyway. Freaks and Geeks taught everyone involved the same lesson. Nothing is guaranteed. You can love something. You can have the best experience on set. You can make something genuinely special, and it can still get canceled. But if you do good work, maybe it comes back. Maybe people care about it. Maybe 25 years later, someone makes a video about 15 weird facts that prove just how strange and wonderful the whole thing was. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the shows and movies that shaped us. Drop a comment. Tell me your favorite Freaks and Geeks moment, or which canceled show deserves its own video next. Until next time.